Live but recorded from the BBR studios. Once again, it is the NDRL LineLocked podcast. What do you think? Hey,
official. You forgot official.
are you sure? I thought I said official.
I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, man. How you doing, man?
I'm under the weather. It's been a rough 2 weeks in this household.
Yeah. I got the winter depression and the sickness on top of it. Everybody in the house.
It's been rough.
Yeah. Hey, let's bring in our first guest. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to bring him in from the very beginning. You may know him from his doings and buildings of the NDRL. It is none other than Mr. Troy Wilson. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm great, guys. How y'all doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Just trying to stay with my nose unplugged.
Yeah, I can hear you a little congested over there.
It's not been good. How have you been feeling lately? You been having it too?
Unfortunately for me, I have skipped out. Like, I'm avoiding everybody due to the cancer problems that I have. So I'm pretty much just staying at home and not going anywhere other than work.
That makes sense.
A lot of my family, believe it or not, in the last couple of weeks has come down with the Rona. But between that and, sinus infection, stuff like that, everybody's doing okay now. But yeah. I have fortunately been able to avoid it.
I wonder if we're on like COVID 25 or 26 now. I mean,
it'd be 26.
It would be 26 now, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a new strain. It's got to be a new strain.
Yeah. Man, I remember when that all was going down. I mean, I actually worked in the hospital when it went down, and the children's hospital didn't see as much as the adult hospitals did, so we lucked out. But man, it was pretty bad for a while there.
We during COVID-19, it was actually a very interesting time at the firehouse because we would go in and we were not allowed to leave, and we weren't allowed to mingle with other stations, nothing. So for probably like 6 months, we would go in and they limited our runs to like nothing. The only thing we ran on was fires. And if we had to rescue somebody, that's it.
No.
So there would be a week we wouldn't even leave the station.
Yeah.
And we were getting stuck there for like 5 or 6 days straight.
I did remember hear you telling you that.
It was rough.
If somebody got COVID, then you're kind of stuck there. Yeah.
So I pulled my race trailer in and put it in the bag, and I just worked on it for a whole week. I don't think I had a single run.
Might as well. Jeez. Troy, tell us a little bit about yourself real quick, and we'll get into more stuff later, but tell us a little bit about who you are and how you started up with the NDRL.
Well, born and raised in a small town in southern Indiana, population probably 700 at best, and moved to Bloomington, been racing since I was a kid. Moved to Bloomington, continued racing, was running with the NPCA and the good guys like we all were. And then, of course, we found out there at the October Bowling Green event, hey, the good guys is done. They're making money. However, they're not making the money they want to make to continue the series. So they wanted to go do show cars, drifting, etc. No more drag racing, and I was invited into a meeting at Brownsburg, Indiana, with the rest of the original members of the NDRL. And the rest is history. I mean, we came out stomping our feet and raising as much cane as we could to make our brand visible quickly. And it paid off. Here it is all these years later, and the thing's still growing.
What approximately year was that?
2009, I think, or 2010.
Okay.
I'm going to stick to 2009. I think that was October 2009 when the good guys, they just pulled the plug on it and said, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throughout the wintertime, here they called me up to come to this meeting. And I know I've told this story 100 times, but we leave the house to go to Brownsburg, and it is literally a whiteout. And it's a 2-hour drive from my place here, to there. And it's like 4-wheel drive. We're slipping and sliding the whole way there. And I don't know how many times I about just turned around and went home. Like, I'm going to get killed. Somebody else going to get killed. I'm going back. And fortunately, we made it there. We all did. And, again, the rest is history, as they say, because if we wouldn't have been there, hard to tell them what would have came from it.
Right.
And I say that, but we would have rescheduled it. It'd have been the next week later, but on the way home, it was the same way. It was just slipping and sliding. And it's like, God, what was you thinking driving to Brownsburg? But
if you wouldn't have done it, you wouldn't have had a cool story, though. So
it's exactly right. It's a story that you can tell the grandkids and tell them, don't be an idiot like Grandpa was. Stay home and it's snowing. I mean, it was like a foot deep.
Yeah.
And we was getting run. We was on the interstates, and the plows wouldn't even come out because the snow was so bad.
Oh wow.
And there was cars slid off the side, and I'm over in the left lane, just got it hammered trying to climb these hills so I didn't get stuck, and finally made it home. And and then it all snowballed from there. Here come email chains, and we got to draw a logo. Like, I still have the renderings of the very first pencil sketch from that meeting of this is what we think the logo needs to look like.
Let's actually really deep dive into that, because there's a lot of history there that I don't want to see lost to time. So what kind of stuff was really involved in somewhat detail about getting something like this started? Because people don't realize how much effort it takes.
Well, I mean, to get it started, it was myself, Alan Robbins, Mark Vaught, Steve and Sally Walzak were both in there at the beginning. Sally was our accountant. Michelle Lewis, we had Dave Mullen. Oh, goodness. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, we had to have a race director, so we was trying to plan this out, but we basically sat down and we had to come up, who's going to be the core of this business? Who's going to own it? And we needed 3 people. So it was me, Alan, and Mark. Then, they voted me president somehow. I'm this redneck hick from Shoals, Indiana. And they're like, I was good at what I did, or I was a sucker or a patsy. I'm still not sure. But, we appointed a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, everything like that. I mean, this was business forward from the beginning. We started out, we incorporated it. I'm sorry, I said LLC, but we incorporated. And then we finally realized, hey, we can turn this thing into a nonprofit. So here come that status. And we work towards that, because there is tax breaks for that, but you pretty much got to you empty your coffers out every year, which we had no problem doing that, paying out purse money and making sure people got something at the banquet.
Right.
Yeah, there is a staggering amount of paperwork involved, and lots of, back then, even in 2010, you're talking a lot of letters. There's probably not a whole lot of digital stuff back then. So,
no, we were mailing everything. I mean, everything, with that starting out, we didn't have hardly anything to start with. We had 3 races. We had maybe less than 40 people signed up to run for points.
Yeah.
And so this was easy. I mean, man, we only got 3 races. We can knock this out and see where it goes. But then eventually, it snowballed into 6 races, and you got 250 plus members. And we were still kind of stuck to that old adage of let's just mail everything out, or we'll post it to the internet, post it to the website, and kind of stood away from, like, we didn't want to set up an online store where people could just click on and do the registrations online, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But back then it worked. Now, was it the easiest method to do? Probably not. We should have ventured out and tried to do something a little bit different, but it was working. And at the time, it's just, like, why change it? It's the wheel. We've invented it. Let's just keep pushing it along.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's, like I said, it takes a lot of effort, and we appreciate it, obviously, that you've decided to put all that effort in and make that long trip in the snow.
Yeah, right.
So, because we obviously we wouldn't be here without it. What do you think when you were starting this? Where did you assume this was going to turn out to where it is now? Where, I mean, we're not massive by any means, but it certainly leaps and bounds ahead of when you originally started. But where do you see the direction of it so far? I mean, are you excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, when we started out, we basically just wanted a place to race. I mean, with the good guys pulling out, and forgive me for saying this, but the NPCA was struggling at that time. The NPCA was a great organization that it had its market. They wanted to go to kind of hang out with the good guys, but after that, it's just some 8th mile races, come in on a Saturday night, run it, get out, and go home. And we wanted to stick it to quarter miles. We wanted to be on safe racetracks with concrete walls. We wanted to have a safety crew there. And we wanted a 2 or 3 day adventure to, like, hey, this is the family camping trip for this month. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to Indianapolis. Let's do this, and fortunately it just continued to grow, and it growed, and it continues to grow now. I mean, I had tracks from Florida. I had Keith Haney wearing me out, wanting to bring us to Oklahoma. And it was all these places, but we were dead set that we were going to stay within a 4-hour tow from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That was our core area, which now it's ventured down toward past Louisville. But at that time, we're going to stay within 4 hours of Indy. This is how this works. It don't beat the wallet up. You still got money to get home on, and you can recoup and hopefully have the car rebuilt in a month and go back out if you've tore something up. Heaven forbid.
Yeah. This year is the first year ever since I've been around. It's always been 6 races. You said you started with 3, and then how many years did you go with just 3 races before you guys went to 6?
I think only the first.
Okay.
I mean, after that, like we went to Indianapolis. Kurt Johnson used to put on these special events up there on Friday nights where they had drift cars, drag racing. I mean, I remember a bikini contest. There was all kinds of stuff going on. And, you know, we knew Kurt. So we reached out to Kurt. Hey, we want to come to Indianapolis. No problem. And then we reached out to Dallas Jones and Brock and, you know, hey, here's what we want to try to do. And, you know, they opened up their door for us and let us in. Yeah. Jason Becker ended up as our race director. He obviously lives on the property over at Edgewater. So he was friends with the track owners and he actually worked at the track as well. So eventually, you know, Jason got us into Edgewater and we didn't ask for anything. We just wanted a place to race, you know, and that's changed considerably since we started. You know, literally, we just want to come in here, put on our event and go home. Mm-hmm. All we ask is, you know, hey, give us our tech card money back. You can keep the hot dog money from the spectators and any of the crew passes that come in. You still get paid, but let us have that money back so we can pay our racers. And everybody was down. They're like, yeah, let's do this. This is a no-brainer. And it just continued to grow. You know, I remember the first race, I don't think we had, it might have been 40 cars. And you see where it's at the last few years. I mean, if 40 cars would have showed up the first race in May of 2026, it'd be a catastrophe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back then, it wasn't an issue because the purses were small. And we already had it in the rules. Like if there's only so many comp cars show up or so many gas cars show up, then we combine the classes.
Yeah.
And we did do that for a few races. We actually had to combine comp and gas and, you know, comp would run down its side, gas would run down its side together. Then we'd put them together and they'd run them off. You know, I can remember staging up against Butch in the final round at Bowling Green, just stuff like that, just random things because there was a comp car left or a gas car left going into the final. And we did that until the series finally started outgrowing that rule. And then it's not been an issue since. But for the first year to 2 years, I mean, we merged them together quite a few. You know, you had guys that were, I don't know if they were leery of it, if they just wasn't willing to drive, you know, 6 hours from Ohio to come to Bowling Green for this. It's a new group. We don't like the way the rules are or whatever it was. But, you know, after a year or two, then here it come. And the cars started showing up and people were building new cars to come in here and play with us. You know, purpose-built 7.0 cars. Hey, I'm going to go race with that NDRL series. I hear that's the ticket.
Yeah.
You know, and then we had, you know, with the good guys, they let cars that were slower than 10 seconds run, you know, so you had 1050s and 11-second front engine dragster, which is basically, I mean, it's a stock engine on a set of pipes and you'll go run 1050. And, you know, but then these guys started stepping up their game. Okay, you know, let's hop it up a little bit and go 10-0s. And so and then the field started getting fuller.
Well, there's so many tangents and questions I have for you. I'm afraid we're going to end up like going too far out one direction, but no, I do want to ask like because I want to know where we started and now where we are. Do you remember what kind of payouts you guys initially had in the first inaugural season?
I can tell you that I believe that it was like $1,000 for 7.0.
Okay.
And then 500, 250, 250, et cetera. You break it down to 4 cars. And then comp and gas, I think, because I ran comp at the time in my old Fiat. I think it was 600, 300, and 150 and 150 for the final 4 cars.
Okay. And what was your entry fees? Do you remember that?
$100.
$100.
Across.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what the good guys charge, so that's what we charge. If they can do it, we can pull it off too. So
yeah, it's amazing. Our entry fees hasn't risen that much.
Yeah.
But our payouts have went quite a bit more than it is now. But that's because due to car count. But
yeah, car count's up, sponsor money's up. You know, we beat trying to get sponsors. You know, it was going to the Racing Performance Expo. It was going to the PRI show. It was going to your local hardware store down on the corner saying, hey, we can put you on this flyer for $100. I mean, we were selling anything we could sell. We had a sponsorship package, but at the end of the day, I was willing to hustle. And if you're willing to offer me 5 pounds of grade 8 bolts and $100 bill from your hardware store, I'm in it.
yeah.
And I was willing to take what anybody was willing to give me, you know, because I'll make something come out of it, or we will make something come out of it.
Yeah.
And I had another guy. There was another series out of Illinois, the Nostalgia Quick series, and the guy's name was Jerry. And I helped him for just a little bit with it. And that's the same way he did it. You know, if he knew that he was going into this small town, say in Lyons, Indiana, coming over here to Wagglers, which at the time was ET Raceway or Lyons Motorsports Park, he would come over there a couple weeks ahead, and he's going to, you know, the local diner, the local Mexican restaurant the hardware store, the gas station. Hey, we're coming in. We're putting on a 2-day race down here. Would you like your name on this flyer for $100? Or, give me $50 worth of diesel fuel. I don't care what it is, but let's get something going here and we'll get your business promoted. And it worked. So we kind of went about it with the same thing. Here's a sponsorship package. Here's what we would like to do. But hey, if this don't work for you, let's try something else. Let you tell me what you think you would want to do, and let's see if we can come to something. And I mean, we pushed it as hard as we could. That's a lot of the behind the scenes that nobody sees. They think that it's just, hey, we got to put these 6 races on or whatever we're doing. But you're literally from the final event. I would wait a month. We had the banquet. After the banquet started, we started after sponsors again. Hey, the next year's coming up. Do you want to sign back up for this? Are you happy with what we did? We had this many impressions on Facebook. We did this, we did that. And, this many racers came out. This many spectators showed up. The tracks have already booked us again for next year. Do you want to come back on board? And then you start planning for the Race and Performance Expo. And then you're at PRI beating feet for 3 days. And then you're still going out here like, I was looking at companies that sponsored the good guys. And I was in the back of the PRI magazine or in Nitro Madness magazine looking for companies that literally, okay, they're already in this nitro stuff. Let's see, or nitro stuff or nostalgia stuff. Let's see if we can pull them over and bring them on board with us. And, it worked. We were picking up people that I had no clue that we could ever sign as sponsors. And these guys have continued this. They're getting on sponsors now that it's like, man, I'd have never thought that guy would have been on board. We actually, 1 year, Briggs & Stratton came out with a spec junior dragster engine that they were putting out. It was sealed up. It was done. You just put it bolted on the car and go race it. And we hooked Briggs & Stratton into sponsorship for our series. By the time we was done, we had it. Yes. And it's like, we went to Norwalk with a Briggs & Stratton sponsor, and Kurt's looking at me. He's like, how'd you do that? He said, I'd have never thought that place.
Yeah.
But it worked. It was just something random. We tried and we got it.
Yeah. So, cause I'm full of liking to know the first. Do you remember who the first sponsor that you were able to sign up to?
I do. Believe it or not, I do that, and it was Alan Robbins and Freedom Racing Engines.
Okay, well, he's going to get some. Mileage out of that because we're going to talk about him right now and that first sponsorship. That's big. So I'm not sure about that company. I know of it, but they make some racing engines. Where they're out of?
Well, currently at that time when we had that first meeting in Brownsburg, we met at Alan's shop at Freedom Racing Engines, and it's in Nitro Alley. When you go down Nitro Alley past Forces, Lucas was on the left. You turned back to your left, and it was right there on the corner.
Okay.
So that's where we actually met at that time, and then the company was picked up. Fleece Performance, Chase and Braden Fleece, they picked up the business. They bought Freedom because of all the machine work capabilities that Freedom had. I mean, you go in there and you might see a diesel block, or you might see a row of Top Fuel billet Hemis waiting to have the windows repaired in them because they don't repair them in-house. They take them to Al, or they took them to Al. And they had a fixture set up. They would brace that block up from the inside, cut the hole out, put the window back in it, put it right back in a 5-axis and machine it back flat. And you couldn't tell it had ever been wrecked. Yeah. And the work that they done there was just top notch, and the stuff that they did. So Fleece picked them up like, hey, we need to buy this company, put it in the umbrella. And now it's at the new shop in Pittsburgh, which, I mean, it's the biggest thing I've ever seen. That shop just keeps growing in size. It's like 120-some thousand square foot under roof.
Wow. That's an insane amount. That's an Amazon warehouse of roofing.
And what's scary is they're adding on to it. Like, it's completely stuffed.
Wow.
Like they're now, they done billet blocks. They do billet this, they make billet turbos and everything for diesels. But with Allen, and they had a video of it on the website, and it's actually on the NDRL Facebook page. They had bought a forging operation to cast blocks.
Yeah. And
they actually cast an Alan Robbins edition big block Chevrolet block.
Oh, cool.
And they had a video of it on the internet. They brought Al out to see it 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. And it's got his name cast across the front of it. And it's like, from here forward, every one of these will have your name on it because it was his idea.
Yeah.
To try to compete with what Dart and Brodix and other companies were doing, World Industries. Yeah. Here we can make these blocks and keep them local.
Right.
And plus they can do all the machine work on them. I mean, they can turn them out right there.
Well, unfortunately, we lost Al, a couple weeks ago now?
It's been about a week and a half ago.
It's actually a kind of a good segue. Let's talk a little bit about him. I know that he was obviously a big person to get this whole thing started. So, you know, what was your relationship with him?
Good friend. I hadn't been around Al very much, other than at the racetrack before the NDRL, you know, became a thing. But then from there, I mean, it's telephone calls, weekly telephone calls. Hey, we need to do this. Hey, let's try that. I put a post on Facebook, you know, because it was kind of, it's kind of tough because Al was a friend, number one, but Al had the same affliction that I have and several other people have. And, you know, we lost Derek McCuston in the same week. I had another friend here that died from cancer the same week. And it's like 3 of them down in 1 week. But Al was, my fondest memory of Al is we were out to Pomona in 2000, I think 9 or 10, I can't remember, racing for the division Super Pro Championship. A friend of mine had won the regional here for Division 3, so we all trucked out there. Well, Alan is, you know, he is a walking encyclopedia of anything racing. It doesn't matter if it's dirt late models or if it's drag cars, if it's nitro, if it's my old Henry J. There's nothing the guy can't give you insight on to help your program. And, you know, you go back and you look at the photos he has and the pictures he has and the trophies that he has. The dude's won something everywhere. You know, whether it was a dirt late model with Terry English behind the wheel. He worked up at K-Motion for Bob forever. You know, he worked for CJ Rayburn, a dirt late model guy here local, that they actually built. They didn't have a dyno. They built a dirt late model and would take it to Brown County Dragway and put a new motor in it, and they would run it 2 or 3 passes. They'd pull it in the pits, take the camshaft out of it, put a new cam in it, degree it back in, and put 3 more passes on it, because that's how they was trying to find power for their dirt car.
Wow.
But they built a dirt late model with no stagger in it, a set of slicks on the back of it, and was ripping it down this track. That was their test bed. And that's just how things worked. I mean, you know, back then, it wasn't nothing for Bob Glidden to show up down at Brown County to put a few test hits on before he went off to a national event. And Brown County it is what it is, but it's one of the sketchiest surfaces you're ever going to find in life.
Yeah. Yep.
But to a lot of people, it's home, you know, and Glidden said it was like running 100 miles an hour down your driveway. That's exactly what it feels like. You know, that is it.
Yeah.
But I got way off there. When we went to Pomona, we, you know, Al's going out to eat dinner with Mike Cole and all. I mean, it's crazy the people that he knows in this industry. You know, he had a weekly phone call with Nick Arias every week, you know, and he knows literally everybody. You know, you could be at his shop and here comes somebody from Force's team. Here comes somebody from Schumacher's. Here comes Byron Hines in the door from the Vance and Hines teams. You know, he is everything about that. So we're in Pomona. We're out riding around on a golf cart, and we head to the NHRA museum. And he gave me a guided tour through that museum, and he knew everything about every car sitting in there. We walked through the displays, and there's like Jeep's helmet stuffed up in a display box. He can tell you everything about what happened and why that helmet was in the box, you know, what brought that helmet to the scene. And, you know, of course, he got his start at a young age down here working in Bloomfield at Moody's Garage. And you got Moody and Sam Jones. These guys were setting gasser records back in the 60s with this 037 Chevy and a 55 Chevy gasser that they had. And, you know, when they brought these championships back to little Bloomfield, Indiana, which is not about the same size as my town. I mean, these guys were gods. You know, everybody in the car industry, these guys walked on water, and Al was there, you know, and the history that man knows was just second to none. I mean, literally 3 weeks ago, we were sitting in his living room, and he has this old box of photos from, I'm going to say the early, late 70s. And he's holding them up, and they're asking questions. And he's picking them apart. No, he goes, you got that wrong. That car was drove by this person on this date, and that track, and that picture was taken at this track. And even as he was declining, you know, getting ready to move on to the other side, the man was still just sharp as a tack. It's crazy how smart he was.
Sounds like an amazing man. I unfortunately didn't get to spend much time with him, other than got to meet him at the banquet, because I guess he hadn't really been. He may have been around at some of the races. I didn't know him to say hi.
Yeah. He was a staple. For years, he done Michael Sexton's engines.
Okay.
And he was at the racetrack every event with Michael. And then his business was booming. I mean, at one time he had so many engines sitting in the floor. I don't know how he kept track of them. Yeah. You know, and and he had his cat, so he didn't want to leave the cat at home alone, you know. So he was kind of starting to skip the races, but yeah, he was always there. You know, we were always at Bowling Green sitting there on the corner, and Al was always in there. He'd come in there and we'd race like dogs all day long, and then at nighttime we'd have dinner and pop open a few beers, and that was Al. That's just it. You know, he like I was asked to write his obituary, and you know, one of the things that I quoted in that obituary was he walked softly, but he let them engines do the speaking for him. You know, he knew that when Michael's car fired up, went to the starting line, it was the best thing that he could give Michael, and Michael was winning races. I mean, the thing ran flawlessly, and it still does today.
Yeah.
You know, so he will definitely be missed. And I mean, you know, by me, by everybody. He was that guy. He was that guy you could lean on. You know, I blew my motor up. I went to a local engine builder here. Al used to actually do motor work for me at one time. And I blew my motor up, and the cylinder heads was trashed. I had to buy a new set of heads. And Jegs had a special on these Brodex BB2s, which are too big for my motor. And I called Al, and I'm like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? Because I got to make a decision quickly, because we were trying to get to Bowling Green for October event, because, you know, at that time I was in the deep well of cancer. And it's like, I don't know if I've got any more left in me. This may be it. Let's get this motor done. Let's go racing. And he told me, he said, look, he said, it's going to run fine. He goes, it'll probably be faster than what it was. He says, but your 60 foot and your half track's going to suffer. He goes, but it will pick it up going out the other end. I promise you. And this thing launches like my golf cart. I think my golf cart's got a better chance of popping a wheelie than this car does. But it's 0.2 faster than what the other motor was. Huh. Same timing, same shift RPM, everything. It's 0.2 faster going out the other end of the racetrack, but on the front half, it's trash.
Yeah.
And he was exactly right. I mean, you just bounce this off him, and hey, I got this size piston. It's bored this much. It's got this big of a dome on it. I put this head on it. And he goes, heads are too big. You're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever, let's go. And here it is. And we bought it, and it was exactly what he told me it was going to do, just from a 2-minute phone call.
That's an amazing story. I would have loved to have hung out with the guy and asked him questions. And that's part of the reason we started this podcast was, you know, we are really interested in people like that, you know, and talking to you, and we would have loved to have him on here to hang out and ask him some questions. But, you know, there's very few people out there that have that type of knowledge, you know, just in their head. You know, I think of Pat Friels when you're talking about that same thing. You know,
exactly.
You lose a cylinder. He'll tell you to pull the spark plug and add 2 teeth to the blower. It'll run the same ET. You know, it's crazy.
I watched them over at Edgewater one night, and they was using a coat hanger to tie the rocker arms up because it didn't have nothing left in it. It blew a lifter out of it. And it was racing for the final round. We're going up around 7 holes.
Yeah.
And that's just Pat. The stories Pat can tell you are insane. You know, I listen to Pat's stories, and he tells me stuff like when the deal came about with my Henry J, and it was like, I don't think I got enough energy to go to Bowling Green in October. Pat drove all the way up here from Island, Kentucky, and helped me put my motor in.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, like right now over the winter, I said, I need to get some more oomph down low. What do you think? And we put a baby blower on it. I just got this thing done. I keep pointing over here looking at it because it's sitting right beside me. But we put a little blower on it over the winter, let's see if we can pick it up a little bit down low, right? But Pat's stories he's got stories to where they were in New York pulling tractors, and they blew the rear end out of the tractor. So they went out there and laid in the mud and took the rear end out of the semi that they used to get to New York, put it in the tractor to make the pull, then had to put the rear end back under in the semi to go home.
He told me that story, and I said, where did you find the energy? He goes, I was young.
Yeah. Well, he's like and he still has plenty of energy. Don't let him fool you, but he is an amazing man. I think the world of Pat.
I do too. I'm hoping we can convince him to come race with us some more this year. He kind of took the break this year and only went to 2 of them. Yep. But I'm going to go down there and visit with him the next couple of weeks, him and Robbie, and I'm going to try to convince him to come race with us, see what we can do to make that happen, because we need some more 7.0 cars. That's one of the questions I have to ask you, but let me make sure we can somewhat do this in some kind of timeline. Do you remember who the first champs were of the first season?
Oh, I knew you was going to ask me. I have to tell you, I don't. I can't remember.
Would there be any records of any of that? Would you have any of that?
At one time, so it was all on the website. They had all the results back from the beginning.
Yeah.
the guy that took care of our website back then, and then when it switched over to Gary Rowe, I don't know if Gary would still have that information. I had a gigantic box, like up until about 4 years ago, I had kept every paper. Like if it had anything to do with the NDRL, I had it in a file box. And then Alan actually brought me another file box of stuff that he had. And I say this, but it literally had, from the first race, it had every run sheet, every round, every day, all the way up to the last race that we had ran, and I'd stuffed them in that box.
Wow.
These guys, I see them, I did this, and they posted on Facebook about how fast they went. It's like, no, you didn't. I can show you right here in the sheet.
So that box is the holy grail.
I know. We need to find the box. You open it up, it's going to look like Pulp Fiction, just gold
glowing. Yeah.
So I since I've been around, anytime I have gotten anything paperwork wise from Leslie, I've saved it back. Because I'm I like keeping that records and stuff like that. But I only have data back to 2018, and 18, and I only have the last season's points. So if you run across anything paperwork wise, or if you could make a few phone calls to find if we could find any historical documents, let me know, because I would love to store them back.
The guy that actually took care of our website, I'm still friends with him on Facebook, and he actually maybe still had that in a master file somewhere.
Okay, cool.
Let me get with him after this is over with and see what I can come up with, because he may still have that stuff.
Perfect. I'll even put something on the website. We'll just do a historic documents area that people can go and look, and we'll just put all those files out there so people can go out and see them. It'd be great if we can get them scanned in. I don't want to lose any of that to time. I personally believe this group is going to be around for a long time. And I want to be in 50 years from now when we're racing Teslas as nostalgia cars. I want to be able to talk about and see that type of data. So it'd be great if we could get some of that. All right. See, what's the next thing to make sure?
Hey, let's just go to a sponsor real quick.
Perfect.
And then we'll get back here with Troy here. Just
talk about some more OG stuff.
OG. We'll be right back.
All right.
Hey, NDRL fans. Adam Fell with Walker Products. Excited to announce that we're partnering with NDRL again for the 2026 season, which includes a grand prize, all expense paid trip to Las Vegas for Apex SEMA. Thanks again. Look forward to seeing you out there at the track.
All right, guys, we're back with our special guest, Troy Wilson. Hey, I got an email yesterday, kind of off subject here. This says, hey, guys, thank you for the hard work on the podcast. I'm liking it a lot. You asked this week about needing $700 sponsorship for the fantasy league, and that's going to be $100 for each race. It's going to be the winner of each race, so that's what we're asking for, $700. Marksberry Racing says, we will give you the $700. Just let me know where to mail the check.
So I think we've got a complete package now for that whole deal.
Yep.
So let's quickly recap. We got $1,000 to win the championship.
Yep. That's from Doug Duell Motorsports. Yep.
And we have a runner-up of $300, and that's from the SSR team, which is also
it's Racing Products, and they sell the diapers.
And they're going to be linked on the website as well. And now we have the $700. Every race there'll be a winner of whoever did the best that week.
Yes.
So you'll get $100 there too. I mean, that's going to be a really fun thing. We just got done beta testing it. I had a good time beta testing it. There's a lot of data that comes up, man.
Yeah, well, we're talking about data with Troy and stuff, going back to historical stuff. Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff you can see, and it relates to your fantasy team because, your drivers, how well they're doing or how well they're not doing.
If we have time today or this week, we're going to try to make a quick video about how this whole thing will operate. Yeah. And we're going to get that out to you guys post haste. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's something a little different. And there's no money in it. Yeah. We've already got all the money for you.
Yeah.
It's completely free as long as you're a member. And if you're not a member, you can still play. You're just not in for the money.
Yeah.
So, either way, you're cool. But make sure your membership's in, because the deadline is going to be, I believe, April 31st. You have to be a member by then in order to be in for the money.
Good deal.
So, cool.
What do you think about that, Troy? You into the fantasy football or anything like that? And
no, I've got a bunch of guys I work with, and they talk about it religiously, like it consumes their day. And I know that if I started with it, it would consume mine too. So I just kind of leave it off to the wayside.
Right. Well, a good thing for you, Troy, is even if you don't want to participate, you're still participating. You don't even know it.
Yes.
If you're a member, a roster is going to be made for you every race. So it'll automatically. The only thing you don't get is you don't get your captain selected. You'll have to go in there and select your captain. You get some bonus points if they do well. That's really the only thing different. But you're going to get a random roster every single race. It'll be different the whole time, the whole season. But if you want to participate, you're more than welcome to go in there and click around and doodads, because the data is insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've made it to where there's trend lines for drivers, how well they've done in previous, how much they're worth, and and all kinds of data, how well they did versus their class, how many points per dollar they cost. It's insane the amount of data I was able to contrive from just our beta testing. It's going to be a really good time.
It's going to be massive.
It's going to be, I'm really hoping there's a lot of buy-in, because like I said, literally you don't have to do anything. It's going to be done for you essentially. So, but everybody else that participates is going to see all this. And I think there's going to be a lot of campfire talking, drinking beers, and be like, hey, I'm worth $36. What are you worth? That type of stuff. And that's what I'm excited about. And like I said, it's completely free.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. So Marksberry, I appreciate, obviously you watch the podcast. I really appreciate you stepping up and doing that for us.
Absolutely.
That means a lot. We talked about sponsorships earlier in this thing. That's probably the hardest thing to do. And thankfully, we have a platform where we were just able to ask for something. We had some people step up. Every single one of them are racers within this group, which is cool. Yeah. But hopefully we can expand and make this for other things too. I'm hoping some of these sponsors that are on board with the NDRL are watching this podcast as well and seeing their name get called out, and then seeing that there's value in sponsoring the NDRL because they're going to be talked about. That's part of what we're doing here. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, guys, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any comments or questions or concerns, you can email us at linelockedpodcast@gmail.com.
And quickly, just hitting that like button is huge for us. Anywhere you're listening to this, if you see it on YouTube, hit like, please comment. I don't care. Tell Troy he like his hat. It doesn't matter to me. But if you comment, it's going to push us up the logarithm. More people are going to see us, and we're going to get more likes. Yeah. This thing will grow. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, whatever else stuff, just hit the like button on that. That helps. All of that helps. Yeah. And it's free for you to do for us.
Yes.
So if you like it, we appreciate you to hit that like button.
Yep. All right, Troy. So before the break, we were talking about the passing of Al Robbins, one of the founders of the NDRL. And you had mentioned one of the other names, Derek McCutcheon. He was a Pro 7.5 driver, I believe. Did you know him?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did.
I've seen him. I don't know if I've ever physically talked to him, but I remember seeing him quite a few times out there in the pits and drivers meetings. And
he ran the speed dog.
Yes, we have. Actually, somebody gave us stickers not too long ago that had speed dog on them, so we have those in our trailer. Also, we lost Gary Grant. I didn't really know him. Did you know him, Troy?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. What did he do? Or what did he race?
His son, Sean, had I believe it's a 67, 68 fastback Mustang, like a dark green, blown motor in it. Pat helped him with the motor some, with the tune-up on it. Good car, beautiful car, honestly. Everything I think Gary owned was just spit polished every day, all day, before it was unloaded or came to the racetrack. The trailer was clean, the truck was clean. But that car was absolutely beautiful, and still is.
Yeah, man, I do remember seeing that car out there. That is,
I've talked to Sean multiple times because I think he ran 750. He was trying to go for 7.0, but he couldn't get to 7.0, so he was playing with different blowers and whatnot. So I've spoke with him briefly. I'm sure I've met his dad in some of those passings. Obviously, he was at the racetrack, but. Again, it's one of those things, and that's part of what we're doing here. We need to learn about people. We need to talk about people.
Absolutely.
So it is sad to hear him passing, and I'm hoping we get to see Sean at the racetrack so we can give him our condolences. But we're going to give it to him here.
Another person that passed recently is the camshaft legend, Ed Eskidarian.
It's one of the hardest words to say.
Eskidarian or Iski Cams. I know that they've been around a long time, and I know he was one of those guys you're talking about, how Al was and how he just knew everything, was just right there, and so was Ed. He was, do you have any good stories of Ed? Do you know?
I never met the man. Obviously you guys see the same stuff that I do online when you're
Yeah.
surfing or whatever you're looking at.
I don't know if
one
we
thing
see the
that
same stuff.
Yeah, well, one thing that I saw repeated a lot, and I think it was reiterated by Steve Gibbs after Ed's passing, was that if you were in a conversation with Ed, Ed locks eyes on you, and he truly is listening to everything you got to say. You know, he's not like some guy that you just meet in passing that you're shaking hands with. Hey, pleasure to meet you, and you listen to a story, but the man truly stops and listens to what you are talking about. And there was so many other people that kind of reiterated that same thing. And I find that that's a lost thing today, you know, because everybody needs that 15 seconds and they got to go focus on something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of nice to see that Steve was thinking of him in that manner.
Yeah, that's a trait that we have lost as a society, and I'm just to blame as anybody else because I've got 10 things in my head going on at all the time, and I think the modern day age of electronics and stuff has really killed having that.
Correct.
Looking at somebody's eyes and talking to them, and that's something. One of my actual I guess New Year's resolutions is to do a better job of that. Is to actually physically talk to somebody and be present when you're talking to them, because we have lost that as a society. It's actually kind of scary because we're losing these type of stories when you're talking to people and stuff, because you're no longer a person anymore. You're just an object in the way of getting something done beyond you. You know, instead.
Correct.
So that's cool to hear about him. And a lot of old guys are like that. You know, like Sam Patrick, for instance. You know, he's an old man, but when he's talking to you, he's talking to you. You know, you know, it's interesting to hear about. Yeah, it is sad that he passed. That Cam company is obviously it's a big name.
Oh yeah,
you know, a lot of people use them, so that's cool.
Absolutely. All right, man, Troy. So we talked about a lot of stuff already, but let's talk about you and your racing. How's it going right now, or how'd you do last year? What you got plans for the future?
Well, last year was pretty uneventful. I only ran 2 races and pretty much stunk up both of them really bad. You know, the year before that, let's see, been 24. I only ran 2 races, but I won the Hot Rod Reunion.
Oh,
and then come back down in October and wasn't worth a dang down there for that either, because I ended up in Pat Friel's. My motor, I didn't realize it at the time, but I'd blowed a lifter out of it at the reunion when I was loading it on the trailer. When I went to unload it, I heard a chirp noise, and I thought, you know, this thing's all solid suspension and solid body mounts on it. It's just squeaking. No, it wasn't squeaking. It had tossed a lifter out of it. So I wasn't in no hurry to put it back together. I don't care about it. I was in the process of moving and was building a house and a new shop, and everything I owned was in storage. The toolbox was in storage. The car was in a storage unit. Everything I literally owned other than my trailer was in that storage unit. And then so when we got done, okay, Pat calls me up and he says, hey, I got a truck or a car. Which one do you like better? And I said, I don't think I'm interested in it. And then, you know, I don't want to do that, but thanks for the offer. Then he called me back again and he says, do you think you're too good to drive my old truck? And just flat wearing me out. And that's the thing about Pat. You know, he knows you want to race. He wants to see you race. And so I ended up racing Pat's truck down at the October race. And I think I made it a couple, 2-3 rounds, and then I was done. But now the thing's all fresh, motor's fresh, transmission's fresh. We put that little blower on there, and I think that as long as my health is where it's at today, you know, I think I'm going to try to run the NDRL Gasser series for this coming year.
Nice.
So that's my goal. I'd like to be able to pull that off. And you know, when actually I feel that I'm getting fairly serious about it, because when I bought my new place, I sold my big diesel pusher. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we went and even bought an old motorhome so we can get back and forth and stay at the track. And so I think that's the goal for this year, is to try to run that Gasser series and try to knock a dent in it and see what we can't make happen.
Let's talk about the Gasser series just a touch. What do you think about that? Are you excited that we're going to have Gassers for the NDRL series?
I am. I'm excited about it. And it goes back to the promoter side of me. As a racer and a spectator, I'm excited to see it. Mm-hmm. But as a promoter, I kind of became concerned because, you know, when we was going to these racetracks in the past, they had a Gasser class there, or they had a hot rod class there, et cetera. And we just brought in our program. Right. We brought in 4 classes of cars, which is now expanded, obviously. So at the time that I was reading this online, I was like, okay, that's kind of a concern to me, but it's really not my concern because I'm not involved. But you come in there and you're part of a program, but it seems that we have so many classes now that we are becoming the program.
Yeah. What's that concerning for you as far as just it's more to do?
I think it becomes, no, I don't think it's more to do. Obviously that's an issue too, but I think it becomes harder to sell.
Okay.
Because if you take this to a promoter and say, hey, I got 6 classes of cars, here's what we want to do, here's how we're going to do this. And the promoter's like, okay, well, I also have a hot rod class and a quarter-mile hot rod class, or I have this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're out of room, and now you're out of pit space, and now you're out of daylight, et cetera, to where maybe at 4 classes or 5 classes, it might have been an easier sell. The track, I'm not sure how the thing goes now with the contracts and stuff about how the money's moved around, et cetera, internally. But I know back then, the track was paying us to show up. We got so much money. We got tech card money back. Like some of them, the track just paid the person. We just took our entry or our association fee. But then the track also had Hot Rod 1, Hot Rod 2. It had a trophy class, or it had Nostalgia Superstock, or whatever it had at that time. And that's the way that the track also makes money to help pay their back door of what their expenses are.
Right.
And now here we are with however many classes of cars, and it's like, I fear that there's a chance it could outgrow what some of the tracks are looking for, mm-hmm. but I also could be 100% entirely wrong.
That's an interesting point of view. Because my theory was going into this was if we could have the entire program, it's less for the track to have to deal with. So
it is.
But like you're saying, it also does not leave room for them to have their own thing on the side that they can make money on. So I 100% see mm-hmm. both sides of that argument.
In my time doing this, I was very fortunate to come across a lot of people that knew way more about racing than I. Mm-hmm. First one was Kurt Johnson. Here come Dallas Jones. Here come Jason Becker. Jason Becker has got a great head on him, was perfect for that race director position. But he and I could bounce ideas off each other because he knew more about racing than what maybe some of the board members knew. Especially on the bracket side of it, the tree, how the bulbs are how the staging bulbs, how high they got to be. We'd roll into a racetrack and we got wings setting off pre-stage bulbs because they're entirely way too low. Mm. And Jason could roll up there, sticky cigarette pack underneath of it and say, that's wrong, that needs fixed. But no bigger mind in the industry than Bill Bader.
Yeah.
And, and when you walk into anything that Kurt and Bill was doing, they've got a stopwatch, a timesheet, and when Pro 7.0 hits the lanes, when that first car does the burnout till the last car in gas, they have a stopwatch time of every class, how long it took to put them down, and how much time we have tomorrow before it gets dark. And, Bill knows how many cars the pits can hold. He knows how many cars he can get down the track safely today without overtaxing the staff. And especially like with oil downs, blow ups, heaven forbid you have an accident. Mm-hmm. But I think you can put, too many marbles in one sack.
Gotcha.
And the track still has to have what the track wants to have. Whether it be like I said, especially with this kind of racing, there's always a hot rod class that lets the local bracket guys that's got an old car come out and they can bracket race. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually, when you got 80 of them showing up and now you got 200 NDRL cars showing up, something's got to give.
Yeah, that's
you got to work through that.
So a guy that loves data, that's an interesting thought that you would take that much time to think about exactly how much time it takes to get a class down, how much time you have in the day. And then, part of the reason I don't, obviously speaking a little bit out of turn because I don't know the full scope of everything, but part of the reason that Bill Bader didn't invite us back in last year and this year is, he runs those fun runs. That's where the money's made for that event.
Exactly.
And now that we have so many cars, if he stopwatched it, that's less fun runs that he can provide to his things.
Sir.
So that makes sense. I just never looked at it until you mentioned it that from that direction. I always looked at it like, well, we can just provide the entire program. Because that's part of the reason a lot of our membership gets upset was when we show up, we feel like, some of the guys feel like they are second-class citizens. That, for instance, in Norwalk, the fun runs took precedence over them, and they didn't like that. So, I guess looking from that aspect of it, if you dictate the entire show, you are the program. But obviously for the track side of it, it makes sense to where they don't have that auxiliary income, so it may not make financial sense to them to bring us in. So
yeah, you know, and at Norwalk, you know, the Blue Suede Cruise was a drag race with a car show, and then it became a car show, and then it became a car show with a drag race, and that's its whole premise is it's a car show with a drag race.
Yeah.
And that's how it has to be looked at. And that's how he's going to look at it.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money comes in from, is from that show side, not from the drag racing side.
It makes total sense what he's done now, where he's got a 32 car shootout of gassers, because those are the people love watching them. So it's a win-win on everything, right? They got a 32 car gasser shootout. He knows exactly how long it takes 32 cars to go down the track. He stopwatched it. You know what I mean? So it makes a whole lot of sense. I just never thought about it that way. And that's the great thing about these conversations. I just learned something, and maybe our membership that's listening to this can understand where these tracks are coming from when we were talking about things like this. That's very interesting.
You could go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, you could be at the tower at Indianapolis and you're watching them burn down through there, and you'll see this happening, right? And then you went to Norwalk and you go up to the tower and they're doing the same thing, you know, and forever, Nettie worked at Norwalk forever. And now she's over at Gateway. And I'm sure that George and Chris, and they're all doing the same thing there. You know, they are tracking how long does it take to put this class down, you know, because this is how we make, well, you know, the big thing is this is how we make schedules for tomorrow.
Right.
Hey, it took, you know, an hour and a half to get 7-0 down. So we gotta give them time for tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. But I hope I'm not coming off wrong, because I want to see this thing continue to grow. But I think at some point with this many classes, it almost may have to venture off into just doing track rentals.
Yeah.
You know, and that may be the next step is, let's do the track rental. We'll have our class or these 6 classes, and then let's have a hot rod class or whatever you want to do to bring in the bracket guys. Because, you know, you can sell steaks all day long, but you still need to sell hot dogs and everything else. So let's go ahead and let's bring in a little bit of extra people in here to help fill these pits up, fill these stands up, and keep cars going down the track. Also, while you're making money.
Yeah, we're dipping our toe this year on that one. We're renting out Indy. The Indy race will be a NDRL owned event. So we need to make a great showing of that one. So if it's make sure it's one of your 6 that you're going to have to make in order to win this championship, because and it will be that is I don't know if I really want to hold a Byron or not, you know, and so Indy will definitely be there. Yeah. But I'm not too sure about driving a Byron. So we're going to try to make them all, you know, barring any type of problems. We'll be at every single one of them. So that'd be cool. We kind of went off topic a bit. You're running a Henry J right now. I'm not sure if Chris has put a picture of it up yet. But
sure.
If you haven't, do so now. Very, very cool car. It's definitely, that's the beauty of Nostalgia Gassers, is none of them look the same, and you get to pick some different cars to make one do the thing. And yours is definitely unique. Tell us a little bit about that car. What do you got in it, and the year?
That old thing. So, you know, going way back, let's talk about age 14, building the model car. And it was the Saints gasser model, you know, the black one, it said Saints on the side of it. And I thought, I'm going to have one of these before I die. You know, at age 14, I already had determined this thing's ugly, only your mom can love it, you know? So this is the car for me. I want that. Right. And I had kind of hobnobbed around and was so busy racing my Fiat and the dragster and other stuff. And I finally got to the point where it's like, you go to the track, you empty your money bank down, you blow it up at the racetrack, you come home and you set for months and you still ain't got nothing to go hot rod around in. And I finally had made up my mind that I'm going to buy one. So I looked and, you know, of course the prices on them were relatively cheap at the time. And I found this one in East Pekin, Illinois, and it was in a chicken coop. And the guy had bought it for dirt nothing. And he started working on it. The story he gave me is if I build this car, it'll force me to build a garage. And he goes, here it is 3 years later, and it's still sitting in that chicken coop. I've not built a garage. So it was trashed. The doors were hanging down probably 8 inches in the back. There was no floorboards, no firewall, no rocker panels. You could open the door, it would fall down. We had to tie straps around it to get the doors closed to get it home. But 2 years later, I was racing it. It's completely street legal. It doesn't have a heater. I don't care, you know, because I don't drive it in the wintertime. but I literally drive it to work. I've drove it to town to go get dog food. We take off in it. We'll drive it to a cruise in. And then you can come to the racetrack and still pop wheelies and have fun and do what you want to do. Like one year at the Bowling Green event, I came down here. I always showed up early for the races because we're hanging banners and getting all that dumb stuff done before it gets busy. And I was down there a day and a half early, and I ended up going to the Corvette Museum in the car, went to Renegade, stopped and got fuel, and was going around town there or going around Bowling Green, just out driving around, just cruising, because that's what I enjoy. I get to the Corvette Museum, and there's all these guys that are foreigners, and here they come. And they just circle the car up, and they're asking 100 questions. It's like, man, I appreciate this, but I just kind of want to go look at some Corvettes. And, so anyhow, I built it, put a big block in it, turbo 400, and it was entirely way too much starting line ratio, trying to get it off starting line. So put a power glide in it. It was running 650s at the time, wheels way high, and just having a blast, blowed that motor up. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, but I enjoyed driving it so much. We put less compression in it, and then we lowered the compression down on it to make it more reliable on the road, and it'd still run 680s, 690s. But yeah, it's a good piece. It's a solid car. It's getting ready. Once I get past this blower install, and here I am, I keep turning my head staring at it while I'm supposed to be looking at this camera. I've got a dropped axle for it. I'm actually going to lower it down just a hair in the front, but I'm going to convert it over to coil springs and put hairpins on it to try to get it more comfortable to drive on the road. Mm-hmm. I'm not so much worried about the race car aspect of it, but I want more comfort driving. If you hit a railroad track, it just beats the steering wheel out of your hand, stuff like that. And that's just straight axle problems. Mm-hmm. That's just straight axle life. Mm-hmm. But I want to get a set of coilovers on it and get an axle underneath of it, which I have all the parts. I just keep tearing the dang thing up, and I have to stop and work on this before I can go work on that. So.
Mm-hmm. One thing leads to another.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely.
Man, we could sit here and talk probably for hours, but we don't have that much time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk about anybody you want to thank for your racing program. And we're going to end up having you back on because I still got a whole paragraph with the questions for you we just didn't get to. But
I talk entirely way too much. I know that.
We'll have you back on soon because I do have a lot of questions that I think you could give some really good insight on. But for now, let's give us anybody you want to thank, your sponsors, your people, and all that type of stuff, and we'll get out of your hair for today.
Sure. Well, I'm not going to lie. I don't have a sponsor one. I don't. Scott Rods has been with me for a long time. Even when I had the Fiat, he was a sponsor of the Nostalgia Drag Racing League. He and I worked out a deal for the fiberglass front end for this car, and I will run his stickers until the day I no longer have a car to drive. Scott is a great dude. I think the world of him. Other than that, my Dan Deshawn took care of my transmission. He's built the last, I don't know how many transmissions I've had. And Lieutenant Dan is hands down the best I can find. And I love him to death. I can call him up in the middle of the night. Hey, it's doing this. And he'll be like, well, look at that, and just stupid stuff like this. Terry Cummins Racing Engines, they built this motor up. I left it in their shop and told them I'm in no hurry, and this was because I was in the middle of moving at the time. And then when the cancer came about, in August, I was diagnosed stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and my health went way down in a hurry. And for scared that I wasn't going to get to race it again, I called him up and I said, hey, it's me. You remember that whole deal where I wasn't in a hurry? I said, well, now I'm in a hurry. And 4 days later, my motor was done, sitting on the stand, ready for me to come pick it up.
Oh, wow.
Until we found out about the cylinder heads. Then we had to add a couple of days for the heads. But Terry Cummings and Bub Cummings up there in Bedford, Indiana, they do great work. They do a lot of sprint car stuff, a lot of dirt car motors, but they do daily drivers. You got a brand new Hemi that's tossed the lifters out of it. They'll go ahead and surface the heads for you, take care of that, or they'll have a whole slew of aluminum 410s for sprint car sitting in there ready to go the next day. But other than that, be Pat Friels. Pat Friels is always there anytime I got a phone call or a question, and I know I can call him up and I get the best advice that man can give me, and he's never steered me wrong. And, I've been fortunate to meet a whole lot of people in this racing thing. From sitting around BSing with Preston Davis about how things were back in the 60s, racing nitro funny cars and nitro dragsters, to Bill Bader, again, the biggest mind in motorsports today, Bill Bader. There's no way around that. He is a genius. But I throw Pat Friels right in that mix. Pat Friels is a hero to me. We went down when he was inducted in the Kentucky Motorsports Hall of Fame. He called us, wanted us to come down, which we gladly did, and it was nice. You know, Pat deserves all the accolades he can get because his years in racing will never, probably will never be matched by somebody in this generation ever. You know, from tractors to single engine tractors to multi-engine tractors to getting dragsters going down the track. And, you go down there to his shop in Kentucky and there's cars everywhere and he's got his hands in everybody's stuff. Which, I mean, to me, at some point, you might think that may be a bit of a nuisance, but he is the best guy to have their hands in your stuff, if that makes any sense. And my family, my mom, she used to give me grief. I'm over here on this side of the wall that I'm now looking at is a whole wall of photos. And I'm looking at all these old pictures from back, in the 1999 to 2000 when I first started bracket racing. And the family was like, "You're crazy for wasting all your money on these cars." And I told my mom, I said, "Well, look," I said, "I could be down at the bar tanked out and have to have somebody call me to bring me home. So there is a trade-off, right?" And, they've always supported this. My girlfriend, Joanna, I'm in here doing this right now, and she's outside scrubbing that camper down from inside and out, trying to get it ready for us to move into. So, it's like that. Without Pat, without her, without my family, and, Scott Rods and these other guys, it's not possible. And I mean, you guys know that as racers, every little bit helps no matter where it comes from. And you may not even think of it as support at the time, but one night you'll be laying in bed. It's like, man, if Pat wouldn't have come up here and helped me put this motor in his car, I'd have never made it to Kentucky. I mean, they literally had to walk me in the house and lay me down on the bed because I was going down. And by the time it was done, Pat, Michael Sexton, Jay Brown, and another buddy here local to me, they were out here putting this motor in while I was stretched out on the tailgate of my truck because I was dying. I couldn't make it. And if it wouldn't have been for them, I mean, they had it ready to run and go to the racetrack. And by the time that day was over with, while I'm laying over there on the truck suffering. So
it's amazing the amount of family that the whole racing community, particularly the NDRL. And again, I don't have a whole lot of experience in other leagues or anything like that, but the amount of effort that everybody puts in, even at their own detriment, if they're racing against you, just to make sure that their buddy, the guy they drink with at night at the campsite is taken care of. And it really speaks very highly of everybody involved.
I have seen, that's one thing that I have really gotten out of this series more than anything is it's like you just said, it is a traveling family. I have seen one time we were in Bowling Green and Steve Walzak, hot rod reunion again, and Walzak's got a busted frame rail on his altar. And the whole place comes over there. They help him strip it down. We take it up to the Elaine Larson was there, I think, and they had their welder set up there where they were displaying Miller welders, and they welded on the car. I went up there with my altered. I broke a wheelie bar mount off the back of my rear end housing, and one of her guys climbs up underneath there and welds the brackets back on it for me. I didn't have to get dirty. But I have seen thrashes. I have seen motors get yanked out, and these guys are competitors all day long, but they're friends once the engine's shut off. And that's just how they do it, and that's how it's always been done. Years ago, I ran a front engine dragster, still had bicycle wheels on the front of it, just spoke wheels with bicycle tires on them, had 18-inch Pirellis. And I'm pitted beside Don Nave. Him and Rich Kreider were forever friends. Don's over there and transmission troubles. They're thrashing, trying to get this transmission out. And he and I are number 1 and number 2 in the points going into the final race. We were 5 points apart, 6 points apart, something close. It could have went either way, right? And I went up there to qualify, car died. I went back up there to qualify again, and the trans brake button, the wire fell off the steering wheel or off the switch, and I rolled through. And I go up there on the last pass, and he's over there thrashing on his car in the pits trying to get transmission out of it, which in a front engine dragster can be a nightmare depending on how they're built. And I go up there for the third and final qualifying session, and my right front tire is flat. Hang on line, left front tire flat. And I thought, I'm going, and went down through there. And the front end, of course, the front end just dangles like this, it's just out there beating the track. And I turn off on the return road. It peels the tire completely off the rim, and it's completely flat. And I pull back up there to the pit area, and Nave looks at me and he says, "I see you got a flat, right?" Comes over there to the trailer and he hands me an inner tube. He says, "We're going to settle this on the racetrack." And I got in my stash and handed him all the transmission fluid. I think we ended up driving to town and buying more transmission fluid for him. And that's just how it is. You know, we're sitting there, we're fighting for a points championship, but here he brings me an inner tube and I'm handing him transmission fluid because that's how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate to meet him in a few final rounds, and he's won some. I've won a couple. But, you know, in the Hot Rod Reunion final round, we go down through there, and his win light comes on, and I hated losing. I hated losing more than just as any man can hate to lose, but I love knowing that my buddy won it. And at the end of the track, I told him, I said, you know, nobody deserves this more than you, because he was just that kind of a racer. I mean, he lived it and he breathed it, and it's all about racing. And he deserved to win that. I feel that I deserved to win it, but he deserved to win it too. So I was happy for him.
We talked to Robbie Friels about that, I believe, where it's one of those things where when you line up, it's off with their head. I mean, this is a competition, we're going to win or lose, you know, and it always kind of sucks whenever you put your buddy in the trailer or the opposite, you know, but that's just part of what single elimination means, you know. I mean, so, all right, man, this has been not only a eye-opening conversation, because we learned a lot from you. And again, we're going to have you on because I got several questions I need to ask you. But for this time, we really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us and talking with us. And I'm hoping the viewers felt the same way, because I'm hoping they learned what I learned. Oh yeah, you know, and have a different perspective on the promoter side of things, because that's very interesting what you were saying earlier. All right, well, we're gonna hop off here, and again, we'll invite you back. Make sure in the comments if there's something that we missed that you wanted to ask Troy about. Ask it in the comments or send us an email, because we're going to end up having him back to ask all those questions. So, again, we appreciate you coming on, and till next time.
Sure, thank you.
All right, man. Nice seeing you, Troy. Everybody come on and come back next week when we have
Michael Hope, isn't it, next week?
Yeah, Michael Hope.
Yep.
All right, guys. We'll see you out there later.
I see you.